Hello everyone, welcome to another video with Rahul. Today we are going to discuss AWS Route 53, give a quick overview and then do a step-by-step demo. Okay, so AWS documentation says that Amazon Route 53 is a highly available and scalable cloud domain name system web service. Let's try and understand what that means. So this is an image I have taken from AWS website. So here you can see the end user is trying to access www.example.com. So once he hits this website in his browser, it goes to his internet service provider DNS resolver, which makes a request to the root name server. This root name server looks at the request and sees that it belongs to .com TLD, and that's where it is routed to. Once .com TLD name server looks at it, it sees that this is coming from a domain name called example.com, which has been hosted in this case here on the Route 53. So then Route 53 looks at various records in the example.com. So it could be www.example.com, blog.example.com. And corresponding to this www.example.com, it provides the IP address. This IP address is then provided by the internet service provider DNS resolver to the end user, who then can query the web server with this IP and get the content it is looking for. So what are the key functions of Route 53? There are two. One, you can register the domains using Route 53. Then you can also have managed DNS service for domains. Okay. Now let's get into the demo. So there are two things before you can create a hosted zone. There are two things you need to have. One is you need to have the domain name, so which you can get from domain registrar. Okay, so let me just show you how we can do that. I'll go to my browser. I'll go to my hosted zone. Okay, I go to Route 53 in my console, and you can see, go to the register domains. Okay, sorry for the delay. Okay, so you can see I already have rahulthrissel.com as my registered domain. So if you want to register another domain, so you can just click on register domain. Suppose you want to register amazon.com. Okay, I type here amazon.com, check whether it's available. It will not probably be available, but let's just check. Okay, so you can see it's not available, but you have some other options with the name Amazon. If you want to buy them, what you can do is you can see price per year is $12. So I suppose I want to buy this one, I can add this to the cart and then just continue. So it will ask me to pay, give all the details that you can verify and purchase. So once you have purchased, like in my case, I purchased this rahulthrissel.com. The next step that you need to do is you need to have a web server or a website. So I'll just quickly create one EC2 instance where I just host this hello world from this IP. Okay, so let me go back to the browser, and I have some instances running here. So maybe I will just, okay, what is something is going wrong here? Let me launch a new instance. So I'm launch a new Amazon Linux AMI. Okay, I'll do 3-tier. I'll just launch my demo VPC. I need to launch with the public subnet, so it should have an auto assign public IP. So I will just put some user data, so it shows an Apache server running with that message. So I have this. I will put in the comments section so that if you want to try it out, you can do that. So I just paste it here. Then add storage. I will leave everything as default. Tags, configure security group. I'll just add a rule. So I'll just allow all traffic. anywhere. So if you have not created a website on EC2 instance, I'll create another video which will help you, but you can just follow along. Okay, I don't need keep here, so launch and so. Okay, I'll let this launch, and in the meantime I'll just go to Route 53. So the next thing, once you have created this web server, so the second thing you have to do is create a hosted zone. Okay, let me go back and let me go to hosted zone. So I already have a couple of hosted zone, but it doesn't matter unless you change the name servers. Having hosted zone doesn't mean much. So I'll create another one, rahulthrissell.com. Okay, so I can create either a public or private hosted zone. Private hosted zone can be only resolved from within the Amazon VPC, but public hosted zone can be accessed from anywhere. So I create a public hosted zone. Okay, now you can see once I created the public hosted zone, it automatically creates two records. One is the name server record. So what name server record does is every time a request comes to rahulthrissell.com, it will be redirected to these name servers. So each hosted zone or domain name will have these 4 unique name servers. And then also you create a SOA record. What SOA record basically gives you details on who owns the domain name, address, and so on. Okay, so now we have created a hosted zone with name server records and SOA record. Now the next thing we have to do is create the resource record. So there are 3 or 4 steps. Basically, you create the routing policy for that resource record. Then you select the record type and value, and then you change the TTL. I'll tell you what each of it means. Okay, now we are here, and let me just quickly go to the EC2 instance, and just go here. So this is the public IP of the instance. So let me. Okay, so now it's working. It's up and running. So this is the IP for this particular EC2 instance, and this is the message it's going to give. Right now we have to access it through the IP. Now we'll host it. We'll access it through the host name. Okay. Now we have to create a resource record. So what resource record does it? Now all your requests for rahulthrissell.com will come to this name server. But now suppose you want to have www.rahulthrissell.com or blog.rahulthrissell.com, which need to go to different web servers. So that's where you create the resource records. Okay, so now let's create a resource record. Okay, so there are multiple routing policies that are there. So simple routing policy is that, say you have 2 web servers with 2 different IPs, and you map it to, say, blog.rahulthrissell.com. So every time you hit blog.rahulthrissell.com, once it will send you to one IP and then to another. So you'll do it in a round robin fashion. Similarly, you can have a weighted one where you route 80% to one web server, then 20% to another. It can be based on geolocation. So when you want to route traffic in Europe region to particular web server, in US region to another web server, that's how you can do. Latency, which is the fastest with lowest latency, it will redirect to that web server. Failover, you could have one primary. If it fails based on the health checks, then you can route it to the failover web server. Then multi-value is pretty similar to simple routing, but it has health check enabled. In simple routing, you don't have the health check. So we'll just go for simple routing for now. So I'll do a next. Okay, now we need to create a record. I need to define simple. Let's say this is example.rahulthrissell.com. Okay, so now you can select the record type. So host a record means that it is just IPv4 traffic. If you want to go for IPv6 traffic, then this is the second one. The CNAME is when you want to map one host name. So you have an say application load balancer host name that you want to map to um, rahulthrissell.com, www.rahulthrissell. So that's where you do the CNAME. You do map to two different host names. Okay. And now then you have to choose the IP. So we'll just choose the IP. You can also select, alias record. Alias records any AWS service like host name of the ELB or Elastic Beanstalk or anything else. Okay. So I'll just copy this IP and put the value here. I have to remove HTTPS. Okay, so let me put this TTL as 10 seconds. What TTL implies is that every time you make a request to www.rahulthrissell.com, it caches both the name servers and the resource record based on the TTL you have set. So if you set TTL 2 days, even if you change the IP of the web server for that host name, it's not going to change because you're going to cache that for 2 days and it is going to serve the IP address of that web server locally. So you need to keep in mind what kind of TTL you're going to put. Okay, so now define the simple record. Okay, create a record. Okay, one additional thing I have to do is I'll just change the TTL for this name server. You can see it's 2 days. So I'll edit it to say 10 seconds. Because if you keep the TTL very large, it's not going to reflect it. It takes time to propagate. Okay. Now we have the 4 name servers, and say if I hit example.rahulthrissell.com, it's not going to work. Let's see. Yeah, and the reason is because now I have these name servers, right? So when somebody is trying to query rahulthrissell.com, he needs to reach these name servers, but I have to update these name servers with my domain registrar who is hosting my domain, and then these will be reflected in all the top level domains, and then they will be able to route it here. So let me just duplicate. So my the registrar could be anyone. It could be Route 53, GoDaddy. So in my case, it's Route 53 itself. So I will go to hosted zone. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to go to register domains. And okay. Now I need to change and edit my name servers here. So I'll just copy the new name servers from here. Okay, change it here. The second one. Paste. Okay, now I need to change the 4th one. Copy. Okay, paste. So it's an update. Okay, so now usually it takes a little bit of a time. Let me see if it's already been updated, but usually it takes a few minutes. Let me go to DNS toolbox and see if it's being reported. Okay, okay, you can see the domain name for this has been changed. You can see it is reflecting the IP for this particular domain now, and this is the IP I had. Okay, I'll just pause the video and just so that we can check when we access it through the website. So because it takes a few minutes to propagate. Okay, I waited a few minutes and now I'm going to hit this website, and you can see it's giving the same web page as was shown here. Okay, thank you.